All right. So just real quick, we're going to do a little bit of banter between ourselves, and then we'll bring you in. Should I shill the social media first, or?
Do
it.
You mean like ours, Drew?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we can keep to that same cadence, and then we'll introduce Jimmy, have him plug his stuff.
You want me to introduce your guys' show? I think that would be. Just kidding. I'm not doing that.
That would be fucking awesome.
That actually would be.
I probably could. I listen every week.
I'm for it. I think it'd be fun
too.
Fucking A, Jimmy, you're the host.
I don't know why he's laughing. I mean, we gave him the host role.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Let's press record.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Will and Drew's Gaming Retrospective. I am neither Will or Drew, but I am the guest, Jimmy, and they wanted me to introduce the show, so here I am. And yeah, how's it going, guys? Will,
What's
Drew?
up, Jimmy?
This is the best intro we've ever had for our show.
Easily.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Oh, man.
So you guys want to show the social media, or do you want me to do that too? Because I probably
do
can.
Do it up.
All right, so Will is he's on SoundCloud under Will_Gear. He's doing some pretty sweet tracks under there. And Drew is Scion Storm on Twitter and Instagram. And yeah, go follow the show, WDGR Podcast.
Wow, it's like he's part of the show or something.
Dude,
yeah.
you are on the ball. How are you, Jimmy?
Oh, I'm great. I'm super excited to be here.
You sound it.
We're really excited to have you, man. This is going to be fun.
Yes.
Been looking forward to having you on the show for a long time, and you and I work together, and our schedules can suck sometimes.
Oh yeah, I'm usually on the night shift. So,
but our stars have aligned.
Yeah, they did. They really lucked out this time.
Yeah, man. So, dude, you shilled our social media. Shill your social media too, because you are a man of all these amazing talents.
In my yearbook, one of my teachers called me a Renaissance man, and I was like, I have to look that up because I'm 18 and I don't know what that means. But yeah, you can find me at Son of a Fitch on Twitter and Instagram, and I do a podcast called Talk Me Into, where a group of friends try to talk each other and maybe even you into liking what we like. It's a show that comes out every Tuesday. We do different subjects like music, movies, comic books, regular books, occasionally a video game here and there. And I'm also working on a new show called Late to the Game, which is on YouTube. It's on my YouTube account, Son of a Fitch, as well, where I'm reviewing old games with a modern perspective. I know you literally just had guests on there from the Retrospectives podcast. That's very similar, but totally different.
It's different, goddammit.
Well, you're doing video,
right? Yeah,
yeah. They're pretty much just strictly audio.
Yeah, mine is also 10 minutes, and they have an hour-long podcast. And I actually just listened to their episode on what was it? Oh, Super Mario World, and it was actually really good.
Yeah, actually, I finished that about an hour ago.
Yeah, I saw them post on the Discord, and I was like, "Ooh, I got to check that out," because I'm a big Super Mario World fan. So
yeah, you are.
It was a good episode. It's a good episode. They go way deeper than I think anybody ever should.
Yeah, for sure.
Analyzing a video game.
It's funny because I love, obviously I'm here. I love video games and stuff like that, but I'm not good talking about them. That's what I like about my show, the Late to the Game, because I'm not really going in depth with stuff. It's mostly just my impressions and what I like about it, and I'm gonna say if I liked it or not at the end. So
yeah, that's respectable.
So you've done Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, that was my first one, was Kingdom Hearts, which I actually recorded 2 years ago, I realized. And I was supposed to make the show 2 years ago, but I just never got around to editing it. So I lucked out, and I have a ton of friends who know how to actually edit and stuff. And I know how to edit, but I was just lazy. So I was like, hey, Cooper, can you edit this for me? So he actually picked up the mantle, and we're kind of looking at this as a partnership. So it's really nice.
That's awesome.
I like it. I enjoyed his minor role in the in front of the camera.
In the introduction video, that was pretty good. drinking some
Yeah,
bleach. That was the joke. He came up with that too. I didn't tell him to do that.
I forget which video it was, Jimmy. It might be one that you've already referenced, but there was one that I watched on your YouTube, and I was dying laughing. You had a friend next to you. I'm not sure if it's the guy you mentioned, but you had a friend next to you, and you were playing. I think it was Kingdom
Hearts.
Yeah, and you're like, I don't know where to go.
Yeah, that was my. That's when I was doing the Let's Plays back in the day, and we were playing Kingdom Hearts, and yeah, it was in the very beginning. It was the dumbest fucking fetch quest ever, where you're just like walking around trying to find all this dumb shit around this island, and I was like, where do I go? I don't know what to do. Who is that? It was pretty funny.
Yeah. It was funny. I can tell you, I smashed that like button. I think I left you a comment. I subscribed.
Thank you.
You've got some good content, man. I find that your podcast also talked me into is hysterical.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. I mean, I give that all up to my co-host. Like, I'm okay. Like, I think I have some moderate takes, but they're really funny, and they, Dan formatted the show perfectly. I think with a strong format, without a strong format, it wouldn't be as great as it is.
You guys have really good chemistry together too, though. The
Yeah.
three of you.
I mean, it looks out that we've known each other for like 20 years, so.
Right.
That helps.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So what are your any upcoming episodes that you can talk about, or?
I am currently working on hopefully finishing it before Halloween. I'd like to get a Halloween episode on. I'm playing BioShock right now. I just started it a couple of days ago, so.
Nice.
Yeah, that's what I'm working on.
That's one of my favorite games ever.
Oh, I hope I like it.
Yeah, I hope you do too. I hope you do too. I can't really speak about the game until you finish it, but it's worth playing through.
Yeah, I probably played like an hour, maybe an hour and a half last night, and I went to my first Big Daddy battle, and at that point I was sort of like really feeling like the controls and stuff, so I've been really enjoying it.
Yeah, they did a nice job, I think, with making your character feel like you're growing in power throughout the game.
Yeah, I could definitely feel that, and it also feels like it's also very natural too, because like you have on one hand, literally on one hand, and the other hand, on one hand you have like legitimate magic powers, but the other hand you're shooting, and it's really natural to switch between the two and sort of like work with each other too, which is really nice.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not going to spoil anything if I'm enjoying it or not, because you have to watch the video.
Spoken like a true shillsman.
Oh man, I've been doing it for so long. I gotta.
But wait, there's more.
Right.
So, outside of BioShock, what have you been playing lately?
I've been really into this game that's starting to get like really popular now, which is really cool. And supposedly I think it's devved by like one dude. It's called Phasmophobia.
Yes, I've heard about this.
Yeah, it's a really fun game. I was not expecting it to be as fun as it is. And like, I'm not super into co-op games. Like, you'll probably find that out as I'm like talking about my gaming history. Spoilers. But I'm like, I've been playing it with my buddy Cooper, who I was talking about before, and like a bunch of our friends. And yeah, you're basically like living out the show Ghost Hunters, except the ghosts are real. And you're basically trying to figure out what kind of ghost it is that's haunting this house, and like you have to avoid being killed. So yeah, it's pretty fun.
It's Phantasmophobia?
Phasmophobia. Yep.
Phasmophobia.
It's a tough one.
Okay.
Which is actually, I think that's an actual phobia. It's being afraid of ghosts. Yeah.
Fear of ghosts, according to wikipedia.org.
That's interesting, because who would not be afraid of a ghost?
Right, yeah. But I guess having like that innate fear, like I'm not like, yeah, like if ghosts were real, I would be terrified of them. But like, I don't know, knowing about ghosts and yeah, I'm not afraid of ghosts. I'm not even afraid of no ghosts. We've been doing a lot of Ghostbusters jokes while doing this too.
I can tell.
Nice.
I was expecting that one.
That's pretty much what I've been playing so far. I mean, like I have a ton of games that I'd rather be playing.
Like what?
But I have a whole backlog. That's why what I love about your guys' show is that like you just like, yeah, you own up to the fact that you have like a massive back catalog.
Oh my God.
But it definitely, so do I. I mean, there's a ton of stuff. Like I'd love to get into like Chrono Trigger. I need to actually play and beat that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have a legitimate list that I'm looking at right now. I'm also playing a little bit of Super Mario Galaxy 2 because that came out on the Switch. So I've been kind of taking my time with that because I just want to like sit and enjoy it. I don't really want to blast through it like I did 64 and Sunshine.
Well, I think you beat Mario 64 in like within the first day.
It wasn't the first. It might have been 2 days, but yeah, I did beat it really quick.
I'm like, I barely unwrapped the fucking game. You're like, yep, I just beat it.
Yeah, I just beat it.
Fuck all you guys. I just beat this game.
Fuck all you guys.
But yeah, there's a ton of other stuff I'd rather be playing. Like Death Stranding is a big one that I started it and I fell in love with it, and then I just, for some dumb reason, I just stopped playing it.
Well, it's so overwhelmingly enormous.
Oh yeah, for sure. And yeah, I wish I can get back into that. And then my buddy Colby let me borrow Silent Hill 2 like a year ago, and that's been sitting and waiting.
Fantastic game.
Yeah, I need to play that one too. But on the other hand too, I have a ton of games I'd want to do for late to the game, so it's gonna be played eventually.
Silent Hill would be a good one for that.
Yeah, that was another one too that I had. I actually put up a poll on Twitter, and BioShock won out of all of them, but I think Silent Hill 2 was a close second.
Yeah.
We should do a Silent Hill for next October, Drew.
That's a good idea. Ooh. I don't have any experience with the Silent Hill games.
Yeah, I've heard they're fantastic. I would love to actually sit and play it.
Yeah.
Very dark.
Yeah, I've noticed that. Like, I played a little bit of it, but yeah, I haven't really dived deep into it yet.
Well, I think this is the point of our show where we usually start to kind of pivot towards your gaming history.
Oh boy.
So, yeah, how'd you become a gamer?
So, I became a gamer since I'm probably going to equate it to my father, who is a father of a gamer, and he is a gamer as well. Well, he was in the 90s. He had a NES, I think, before I was born. Yes, I am young. We've all, I don't know. It's something to bring up when you're talking about like growing up with video games and stuff like that too. Yeah. But yeah, I'm a youngster.
I think age in the context of a discussion like this just kind of helps identify what you grew up with. You know,
exactly,
it's not, it's not a knock against you. Like, you can't control when you were born. You know, like we're it doesn't matter. Like, we're all gamers. It doesn't matter how old you are, unless you're 11. Fuck you. But like, I grew up with different games than you grew up with because I'm like, I don't know, 30 years older than you.
Yeah, you are. But yeah, no, it is something important to talk about too, because like I'm gonna be gushing about a couple of consoles that you guys might not have like really enjoyed, but it's because like I grew up with them and you guys didn't, So it is something to bring up. But yeah, so I will say if it wasn't for my dad, I probably wouldn't be into gaming as much as I would be now, because he did kind of introduce it to me in an early age. He had a Sega when I was growing up. So I remember a little bit of playing like some Sega stuff, but I was never really like super into it because I was pretty young. I actually remember playing it at Big Y in Derby. I don't know why.
Oh, gosh. For
some reason they had a daycare at Big Y at one point.
Yeah.
Weird.
I remember that.
Yeah. So I remember playing Sonic 2 there, and I think a Little Mermaid game as well.
God, this is so bizarre.
Yeah, I don't know why. It's one of my earliest memories is playing Sonic 2 and the Little Mermaid at Big Y in Derby, Connecticut.
The most American grocery store ever.
Oh,
yeah,
God.
I know. But yeah, it was those games were super fun. But my dad was definitely like a PC guy. Like, I remember like in my family, he was probably one of the earliest people to get a PC or a computer. So he was really into like gaming and stuff. Like, we had Duke Nukem. That was a game that we played a ton of when I was a kid. And I can never remember the name. I called it Kick Butt. So, because that's what he does. And I think it was just something easy to remember it by. But yeah, I remember calling it Kick Butt. And what was the other game? Oh, Redneck Rampage 2, which is made by the same people.
Oh, God. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That does ring a distant bell.
These are games that I shouldn't have been playing when I was a kid, but I was.
I mean,
yeah.
Oh, sure.
We all were.
But yeah, Duke Nukem was like, I know like you're a huge fan of Doom, Drew.
Yeah.
Duke Nukem was my Doom.
Right.
For sure. I played a ton of that.
I didn't really get into Duke Nukem in the same way. I had a copy of it, if my mom knew what I was playing, I probably wouldn't have.
Right.
Because like I think I was probably, I want to say like 10 or 11 when that came out, maybe 12. You know, we had a Windows PC. It was like a Windows 95 computer. And I remember I had Doom, I had demos, I had the shareware demos for Quake and for Duke Nukem, and I would play those constantly. Doom, I actually had the full game, but the other two, like for whatever reason, I didn't get a copy of the full game until much later on. So I just played the same 9 levels over and over again.
Yeah, because the shareware versions are shortened, right? They're almost like demos.
Well, it's like the first episode, so you know, I don't remember how Duke Nukem broke it down exactly, but it was probably like 3 or 4 like large chapters.
It's 4 episodes. Yeah. It's 4 episodes and like I think 5 chapters per episode or whatever. But yeah.
So you would have, in the shareware version, you would have had the entire first chapter of the first episode.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
And that's significant. Like that's a good chunk of gameplay.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite chunk of that game too. I really like that first episode of Duke Nukem.
Yeah.
But yeah, I played a ton of that, and like, of course, I was a kid too, so I played like Pajama Sam. I played a cat dog game, like, you know, just those kiddie games that were on PC in the 90s.
Yeah. Pajama Sam. All right.
Oh yeah, I F with Pajama Sam.
That might
real
require
hard.
a Google.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, you don't know who Pajama Sam is?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Oh man, it's basically a point and click. It was after the LucasArts games came out. They were like trying to do the same sort of thing but for younger kids.
Oh my god. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh, you're looking it up. Yeah. No
Look
need
at
to
that
hide
flashlight.
when it's dark outside. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Also, what's his hair? Like his hair is like it's almost like 2 Sonic spikes. It's like Sonic trying to like doing a spin dash.
Look how sad he looks in this photo.
Oh, that's a cape.
Oh yeah.
Look at how sad he is. He's like
but
forcing
he's
him.
He's also got the smiley face too, which is weird.
Yeah, like
it
he's
doesn't
just,
work.
Wow.
I think he's just resigning himself to the fate that there's all these shoes in this tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the Shire, but like on acid.
All right. So I guess we'll move on from there.
Okay.
Actually didn't have the NES. I think my dad sold it or gave it to my cousin Dan, who's my co-host. So I never played an NES growing up unless I went over to his house, but that was kind of rare when we played NES. So I basically just had like PC games in the early 90s until the Game Boy Color came out.
Nice.
And that is my first well, technically it's a handheld, but that was the first like video gaming console that I ever had for myself.
Well, what were some of the games that you had on that?
Oh, I definitely had. It was a Looney Tunes game that was pretty fun. That was a good one too because it sort of like switched between the different play styles between the different levels. Like there was a Wile E. Coyote level, there was like a Daffy Duck level, a Tasmanian Devil level. That was a tongue twister, by the way. Devil
It certainly
level,
was.
right? But that game was pretty fun too. And then of course, like as soon as I got it, I remember getting Pokemon Blue with it. So that was a big one when I was growing up. It was the 90s. Pokemon was huge. I know you guys have a sort of weird relationship with Pokemon, but I definitely grew up with it. I loved it as a kid. I loved the cartoon. I had all the plushies from what's the name? Oh, Wildwood from New Jersey. I remember first year I went to Wildwood and I made my dad win me every single Pokemon plushie
that
he
poor
could
man.
possibly win.
Made him win me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That poor
Or else
guy.
I would probably throw a tantrum, yeah.
Wow.
I also made him watch the movie with me, too. He also brought me to, I think, all 3 of the movies. So, God rest that man's soul. Just kidding. He's not dead, but, like, when he eventually is, it's going to be because of Pokemon.
Did you make him watch Detective Pikachu with you?
No, I did want to, like, sort of accidentally, like, I would do, like, I was going to be like, oh, we're going to see this movie, and then walk him into the Detective Pikachu thing and make him watch it. But no, he was like, fuck that.
That reminds me, Jimmy, you actually have that hideous Pokemon N64. I'm sorry in advance.
Yeah, I do.
Oh,
I have the Pikachu N64, but we're not there yet, Drew. Will, I'm sorry.
Fair enough.
Don't yell at me.
Pipe down.
Right. But yeah, I had the Game Boy Color. I remember playing that a lot. I think I had a Bomberman game from that as well, and that was pretty fun.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
great.
I mean, yeah, I think most of my time was probably dedicated to Pokemon at the time.
It's a pretty like robust game. Like I never got
yeah.
into them, but those games have a lot of meat to them.
And
yeah.
also, mind you, I couldn't read, so I was literally just like battling Pokemon. Like I don't think I got that far with it. But
Would you say that Pokemon taught you how to read?
oh no. I didn't learn. I
was
definitely
expecting
didn't learn
like
how to read.
just a solid yes. I had red. I mean, it was fantastic, man.
Yeah. Oh, so you do like Pokemon, Will?
Well, I mean, the key word is the keywords are I did.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I get what you mean. Like when you're growing up with that stuff, and like it's different than like looking at it with a adult perspective. But I mean, I've tried to get back into it as an adult, and it's kind of hard to sort of like. It just kind of feels like a time waster, to be honest.
Yeah.
Did you play Go?
I started Go. I probably went to maybe like the 4th gym or something, but I definitely didn't beat it.
Mm.
And I liked Go too because it felt less like a time waste because like the battle. I mean, there was not really a whole lot of battling, and it was literally just catching the Pokemon and stuff. But
That was an interesting phenomenon when Go was like really hot.
It was like
yeah, I mean,
it was an
when I was
excuse to like get people outside and exercise, but the GPS tracking on it was terrible. So you would walk.
I was also talking about Let's Go, which I just realized I was wrong about. I mean, yes, I played both of them. I played Go and Let's Go.
Which one's Let's Go?
Let's Go is the one the remake they made for Switch.
Oh,
yeah.
Huh.
But I did also play regular Pokemon Go too. It came out when I was in college. So it was really helpful to like sort of just walk around and get all these Pokestops and stuff. But yeah, I mean, that was just sort of like a thing that kind of died out for me. I know a ton of people still play it though.
it's crazy how popular that is.
Yeah, it really is.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I did put some money into Pokemon Go.
I don't judge.
Yeah.
I spent, thousands of dollars on the Star Trek timeline, so it's all good.
We've all been there.
Also, shout out to my dad too. This is not a game that I played, but a big PC game that he loved was called Star Trek: Birth of the Federation.
Oh yeah,
which is it's sort of like a real time strategy game, and he was obsessed with that. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to say this is the reason for their divorce, but it's very possible that it was.
It didn't help. Let's say that much.
Yeah, I remember he told me one night. My mom was like, Sean, don't you stay up all night and play that game. He's like, I'm not. And then all of a sudden he realizes the sun's coming up. He like hears like the rooster. Yeah. And he was like, oh, fuck. God. Yeah, it was definitely a real time sync apparently. But
the PC games for Star Trek in the 90s and early 2000s were like some amazing games for fans, but outside of that they were really, really rough games overall. like it was like one of those things like Trekkies are so like starved for like quality gaming that we would just like cling to hope to anything. Yeah. But no, some of those PC games are great, man. I never got to play Birth of the Federation, but
it's the one game that he wishes he has an older computer so he can play it again. I've tried to set it up so he can play it on his Windows 10 computer, but it's just kind of a pain. I need to actually like really look into it and just do it for him so he doesn't. Yeah, he's not going to be like, I don't know how to do this stuff anymore. Like, yeah. It's so funny once your parents get to a certain age and technology just means nothing to them anymore. They have no idea what it's happening.
Yeah, I mean, things were more simple back then, and I think some of those games actually ran better on older machines.
They did.
Yeah, they did.
Well, the clocks on them were, different. They were meant to kind of run with those chipsets.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's a good point
for sure.
I'm on Steam right now trying to find this game for you.
It's not on Steam, unfortunately. I've looked a ton of times, and like supposedly people are still like talking about it and trying to get it to run on Windows 10, and I think some people have. I think people just make a virtual machine and it works.
Okay.
But yeah, it's one of those things I got to figure out for him.
Good Old Games doesn't have it either, so now I'm looking into other means.
Yeah,
we'll talk later.
Supposedly it's a good game, so
yeah, I've never had a chance to play it, so if I can find it, I would love to, because it is supposed to be great.
Not to go like sort of way off topic, but how many Star Trek games do you think there are, Drew?
Dozens.
Oh yeah, I would probably say like 30 to 40.
Actually, Jimmy, according to wikipedia.org, there are 115 Star Trek games, and that doesn't even include the mobile ones. Because there's 1, 2, 3, well, I don't know what some of these are, but there's like 10 of those. So you're really wrong. 40? Get your facts straight, bub. Yeah, easily. Because I mean, they Interplay did a whole set of them back in the 90s. They were more like an adventure game. I mean, shit, there are Star Trek games going back into like the 70s.
Really?
Yeah, like there's some really primitive games, that basically had you flying around as the Enterprise, entering in coordinates, warping to a sector, and then trying to destroy a Klingon ship.
That's pretty dope.
I've played most of them. It's
That's awesome. Yeah. I've only played one. It came out for the 360. I don't remember.
Star Trek Legacy?
Yes, that's what it was. I remember playing that one.
Love that game.
It was good.
No, it was great. You shut your face.
I mean, I wasn't super into Trek at the time, just casually, because my dad was a huge fan. But I also remember this is going off way into a Star Trek diatribe more than I was expecting, but I remember he had all the movies on VHS. It was like that box set that came out after like the last one came out.
Yep.
And I remember it advertising. It was like an interactive VHS where you can like watch, like go through the Enterprise and stuff, and it seemed dope at the time.
Yeah.
That's such a bizarre thing, interactive VHS.
The 90s were weird, man.
Yeah. They were weird. I miss them.
I was barely in it, and like I still know how weird it was.
Yeah.
Speaking of the 90s, 1998 to 1999, I don't know the exact time frame, but I remember being pretty young. I randomly got a Super Nintendo for my aunt. And that was my foray into console gaming in the home.
Very nice.
Yeah, so the Super Nintendo holds a pretty special place in my heart. I played Super Mario World, definitely was a big one, as we were talking about before. Obviously a launch title for the system. It's a great game. It's one of my favorite Marios. I would definitely say, like, I'm not a huge 2D Mario guy. I'm more of a 3D Mario guy. But Mario World is definitely like my 2D Mario. I could probably play that one backwards. I know all the secrets and stuff like that. Really good game. Let's see, what else did I have? I had a Timon and Pumbaa game that was like jungle games. Like it was literally just a bunch of like mini games just mashed together. It wasn't a great game, but
it's like a Lion King kind of theme.
Yeah. It was kind of like
sweet.
That. Yeah. The probably like the second game that I played the most was an Animaniacs game for the Super Nintendo.
Okay.
So 90s.
Yeah, for sure. But it was a really fun game. It's a platformer that you play different levels, and you play as all three, Yakko, Wacko, and Dot. And
Nice.
if you lose the level, then you lose that character, and then you only have two of them, only have one of them. And you have to like sort of find scripts on all these different like worlds, which are basically like movie sets, which is pretty funny because they're on the Warner Brothers set. But it's a really fun game. I played the shit out of it when I was a kid.
Nice.
That's cool. I missed that show.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm super excited for it to be coming back on Hulu too.
It's coming back?
Yeah. You didn't know that? There's a teaser for it and everything.
Yeah. You'll have to link me.
Yeah. I'll put it in the Discord chat. But yeah, they spoof Jurassic Park, which is pretty funny too.
That's awesome.
But yeah, that Animaniacs game was super good, and I played the crap out of that. And of course, as people in the Discord probably know, I had Chrono Trigger, which is a huge game, a huge like I wouldn't say it's like sort of underrated, but a lot of people weren't talking about it at the time. But like nowadays, like it's like this beloved game that everybody loves, and like it's just like this little. I wouldn't say it's like an indie darling, but like I don't know, just like unexpectedly really good.
Right.
And,
yeah, it kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, and it had like this super team of like people who worked on like Final Fantasy games, and had the dude who worked on Dragon Ball Z worked on that game as well. And I didn't play it until I was way older because I couldn't read, as we were talking about before. So I couldn't get past like the first part. But it's so funny because I am super nostalgic for that game because of the very like two beginning scenes of that game. And it's like just the music. The music, I legitimately saw a live performance of some of that of like their title theme or whatever. And yeah, I teared up. I teared up like a bitch.
Respect.
Yeah. I'm that way with like literally any sort of live performance, but like it was just something about like video game music from when you were growing up. I was like, yep, I'm crying. It's fine.
It's cool.
Oh yeah,
it's cool.
It's all the feels.
It's just special to you. It means something.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was pretty much it for the Super Nintendo. I had this other game too called King Arthur's World. I don't even remember what it was, but it was kind of like a strategy game. It was okay. But
I think I remember that.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you play it because you have it, you know?
Interesting.
That's pretty much it. That was pretty much what I had for the Super Nintendo. Oh, like a Scooby-Doo game as well. Always loved Scooby-Doo. All right.
Toss that in there.
Yeah, for sure. After that...
Gotta have some filler games. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Gotta have some filler.
After that is... I went to... my parents and I moved. We went to a new place, so I made a new best friend. His name was Cameron. And he had a Nintendo 64.
This is when Jimmy's life changed.
I'm so excited to hear about this.
Yeah.
I love the Nintendo 64.
So I did not have one, but I would go over to his house pretty much like after school every day, and we would play N64. We played Banjo-Kazooie, Tooie, Hey You Pikachu, which was a game where you legitimately talked to Pikachu. And it was fun at the time. I think some Pokemon Stadium as well, and I was like, oh, I'm getting this. So I begged my parents that year for Christmas. I was like, I want a Nintendo 64, like that kid from the video. Yeah. Yeah, I got it, I think, that Christmas. And it was mind-boggling that I had my own Nintendo 64. And like Will was talking about before, it was a Pikachu edition. And pretty cute. I think that came with Hey You Pikachu.
Okay.
And yeah, I just played the fuck out of those games. I legitimately had like every game that my friend Cameron had because they were super fun. So Banjo-Kazooie, I played the fuck out of. Tooie as well. Yeah, I love Banjo-Kazooie. It's such a great game, especially just not being a first-party Nintendo game. It has no right being as good as it is on the Nintendo 64. But,
yeah, did you ever get into Donkey Kong 64?
No, I had a cousin. This is a really weird story, but I after my parents split up, my dad was living in this condo, and we got like this new neighbor at one point, and turned out he was my cousin that I've never met before. And yeah, and we didn't hang out a lot, but he had Donkey Kong 64 and Super Smash Bros. And whenever I was hanging out with him, that's what we played.
Quite the stack.
Yeah, pretty good, two solid choices. But I remember playing Super Smash Bros. For the first time, and I was like, all of these Nintendo characters in one game? You got to be fucking kidding me.
It was bonkers, right?
Yeah, it was such like a crazy idea at the time. And like, I think at the time, like even Melee was probably out. But I was like, I don't know. I just wasn't really in the know. I mean... Because, like, back then, you don't really know all the gaming news unless you're watching, like, G4, which I don't think even existed at the time.
Yeah. You had to have a magazine subscription.
Yeah, exactly, and I definitely didn't because I was a kid, and I can't afford a magazine subscription. But
my next question is, were you able to read at this point, though?
Oh, yeah, at that point, okay. I was in... when we moved to Naugatuck, I was in kindergarten. So that's when I just started like learning how to read. But that was another thing too. We were like playing these games. I remember my friend's dad was like, "Can you even read these games?" I'm like, "Kind of." Like we were playing Hey You Pikachu, and we were just talking to Pikachu, like making no progression, just like talking. It's pretty funny.
How was there like a mic set up with that?
Yep, it came with a microphone and like an attachment where you can plug it into onto the N64 controller. It was very strange, but
I see.
Yeah,
Kinda
and
like
then
a C-man setup.
Yeah, it was kind of like that, and you had to plug it into the one of the controller ports too.
Interesting.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen that.
Me neither.
And then my big game that I had on N64 was Paper Mario. That game definitely defined my childhood. Played the crap out of that game. It is baby's first RPG, besides Pokemon as well. But it's a more traditional RPG, and I played that a ton. My buddy Cameron had it, so I had to have it too. And it was just a great game. I think the first one for N64 is probably my favorite. Even though the one for GameCube is objectively better, just that N64 one holds a special place in my heart. Like the music in that game too is super nostalgic.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great game. That was pretty much my N64 years.
That's a series that I've always wanted to get into. Never have.
Paper Mario. That's probably an easy one to get into. I mean, the only problem with it is not readily available unless you wanted to do emulation.
Yeah, and it's expensive to get a copy of any of those games.
I lucked out.
See that.
I lucked out getting because I had a copy of the second one, the one for GameCube, but I lost it or whatever. I was a dumb kid, and I rebought it I think a couple of years ago, and like I think I paid like $50 for it, which is like a lot of money, especially a game for the GameCube. But I think it's around 100 now.
Let's hit up price charting because that's what I do.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Paper Mario.
Yeah, I'm curious. So in that game, you were able to kind of slip through cracks and all that good stuff, right?
Yeah, and that's the super fun part about it too. Is especially in the first two games, they don't really rely upon like the paper gimmick too heavily. They sort of do now, and it's a little annoying. It's sort of like a spiritual successor to Super Mario RPG, from what I've heard. But they sort of rely a little too heavily on the paper gimmick now.
So are you guys sitting down?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So loose.
Oh boy.
Paper Mario for the Nintendo 64 is $74.72.
Ooh.
Complete in box, $232.
Damn, that's crazy. I saw it in the box, I think at a convention like 3 years ago, and it was only $100.
Oh man, you missed out.
I know. I wish I had the money for it.
Thousand Year Door for the GameCube is loose $67 and complete $91.
Oh, that's surprising. I thought it would be more.
Especially being a disc.
Yeah, that's funny.
You know, they don't.
I didn't realize those games held so much value still.
Nintendo games seem to really cling to their value more than a lot of other games do.
Plus, Paper Mario, I think, is definitely a really special game. I mean,
sure.
I definitely recommend it. I think you two should definitely play it at some point. The N64 one, it's so good. It has such a great foundation that it lays on. It's a really fun game.
That's cool.
Yeah, one of these days I'll fire it up. It's in the infinite backlog.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But you kind of touched on something real quick. You've never played Mario RPG, right? Super Mario RPG?
No, that's another one too. I'm saving it for late to the game. Because it's an easy one because I know I'm going to love it because everybody loves it. It's one of those things where I just don't really have the time for it, even though I do really want to love. I know I'm going to love it, but I do want to play it.
It's a very simple game.
That's how Paper Mario is too.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't.
Didn't some of you guys play that, Drew?
I played Super Mario RPG before we started doing the podcast. I was streaming it.
That's what it was. Yeah.
But I never played Paper Mario. I think Vic might be a big fan of Paper Mario. I'm not 100% on that.
Could see that.
But Super Mario RPG was fun. I never finished it. That's something I probably should do. But it's very simple, very very simple game, very repetitive.
That's interesting. I played the Mario and Luigi games too. That have sort of like they were on the Game Boy Advance and they moved over to the DSs and stuff like that too. And those games are a little different. Like they still follow the traditional RPG format, but playing as Mario and Luigi at the same time is definitely a pretty fun mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
I like those games a lot too, but I definitely prefer Paper Mario over that.
Yeah, I've dabbled in the 3DS one. That's about it.
Oh yeah.
So what's after there? Yeah.
Yeah, from there, I go over to my friend's house right after Christmas, and he was like, "Guess what I got?" Yeah, I was like, "What'd you get?" And he's like, "I got a GameCube." And I was like,
Nice.
"What the fuck is that?"
It's got a fucking handle on it.
Yeah.
Roll cage.
Yeah, it was yeah, that was pretty funny. Yeah, I had no idea that was like supposed to come out because again, I was a dumb kid who didn't follow gaming news. So I was like, yeah, I got to have that. And I think I didn't get it that year for Christmas cuz I literally just got an N64. But I think it was the year after that. It was after my parents split. But I got an N64. I got a GameCube with Super Mario Sunshine. And yeah, I really got to give it up to my parents because they got me like a video game console like every other year.
That's
like
awesome.
They're dope.
As soon as I was old enough to like make my own money, my parents were like, "Fuck you, do it yourself."
I'm like I obviously I don't really get like huge Christmas presents anymore, but I'm like, I wonder if I could squeeze a PS5 out of them.
Hey,
do what you got to do,
worth
man.
a shot.
Do what you got to do.
But yeah, so I got a GameCube that year, and the GameCube, I was, how old was I? I was 7 or 8, I think, when I got it. And yeah, that game that system kind of like blew my mind with those kind of games because I love the N64. I think that system was like phenomenal, and like the GameCube was just like more of that, but like better graphics. And different games and stuff like that because like it had the four controller ports, very similar to the N64. It had the platformers that I was in love with. And at that very moment, that's when I fell in love with a certain character called Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh, Sonic.
I was a huge Sonic fan when I was in my primitive years. And that's when the Sonic Adventure games reported over to the GameCube. Like I was talking about before, I was a dumb kid and didn't know the Dreamcast existed. So, yeah, I know we'll probably talk about that later, but that was just a whole thing that I had no idea about until way later. I remember finding out about the Dreamcast because I was obsessed with Sonic the Hedgehog, that I was doing research and making a PowerPoint presentation about Sonic the Hedgehog for all those who wanted to learn about him.
Nice.
Hardcore.
Was this for school or was it just
no,
for
this
like...
was just for fun. It was like...
I was thinking it was for school.
No, this was literally... I found out about, not Photoshop, PowerPoint. I learned about PowerPoint in, I don't know, I was probably like 10. And I was like, oh shit, this is cool. I'm going to make one about Sonic because I could. And that's when Wikipedia started or like was more known about. So that's where I got all my information. And there's also this fan site too called Sonic Central that I used to go to all the time as well. But yeah, I was a big Sonic kid when I was younger. We would also like pretend to be Sonic characters running around like recess. It was pretty cool. Yeah, we were the coolest kids. We didn't get made fun of at all.
On Thursdays, you were Knuckles.
Can we talk about PowerPoint for a second? Will, did you experience the phenomenon of PowerPoint when you were in school?
100% no at the age of 10, but definitely when I was in school for sure.
Dude, like for me that was life-changing because I was in high school when PowerPoint kind of like rose to popularity.
Same.
Like, as soon as I learned how to use it, every fucking project I was using PowerPoint for. I was ripping audio from my favorite bands and syncing up the transitions to work with the timings, but it didn't always work out because different computers were slower, so the timings would be off compared to what I was doing at home. And, oh, man.
What a nightmare.
I got a lot of A's, though. I'm proud of that. I don't give a fuck.
Got a lot of A's.
I got a lot of A's.
I wish I had that Sonic PowerPoint. I gotta like go through my dad's hard drives or something because if I find that, that's totally going up on my Patreon.
Yes,
because it's so good. It's probably so bad.
I would subscribe just to see that.
Yeah, like
Oh hell yeah!
I put in I remember it was called video game, I think it was vgmusic.com or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just download all the Sonic songs and put them in every single slide would be a different Sonic song.
I have a feeling this site still looks as it did like 20 years ago.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I got to take a look at this because I can only imagine.
I don't
Oh,
think
yep,
it's changed.
it looked exactly the same. Holy shit. That's so weird.
Wow, memory lane at its finest.
Yeah.
31,810 game music MIDI files. Love it.
Man. I don't even know what would play MIDI files nowadays. I think we just had like Windows Media Player or something, and it played it normally.
I assume that computers are still capable of playing them. I mean,
oh my god, this site is just such a time warp.
This thing fucking screams GeoCities.
But yeah, I mean, I would go on here. Like, I remember like going home from school, and like I would just go on here and just play video game music. I love video game music. I could listen to it literally all day. If I can only listen to like one genre or whatever, it would definitely be video game music.
There's
that's respectable.
I have a podcast that I can recommend to you that I think you'll dig. It's called Waveback, and they do video game music.
Clever name.
Yeah,
it's a great name. It's Chris from Stone Age Gamer. It's his little side project, and he actually has a YouTube channel called Waveback Overplay, where he'll take songs from two different versions of the same game and overlay them on top of each other to see how they fit. It's really cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I'll drop you some links in for those later. I think
Nice.
you enjoy it.
For sure.
But yeah, I mean, my GameCube days. I remember getting Luigi's Mansion, which was a huge game. Also, you can probably find out through this through line. I was a Nintendo kid through and through. I definitely had some other systems. We'll get to that, but like Nintendo is probably like my mainstay for most of my my gaming. But yeah, I had Luigi's Mansion. I remember my mom ordered that right when Amazon started. It was like after they started selling like more stuff than just books. But it was one of the very few things that she bought, or one of the very first things that she bought off of Amazon. And I know that because I've literally went back to her order history, and it's still there, which is really funny.
Incredible.
Yeah, it's like from 2002 or something. It's crazy. But yeah, I played that. I remember getting the Sonic Adventure games from KB Toys, or EB Games, not KB Toys. Sorry. Back in the day when EB Games was still a thing.
I remember
Rest
that.
in peace.
Yeah. Apparently it's still a thing, like in other places. Like I think it's Australia or something.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Patrick and James were talking about them when they were on our show.
Right.
Oh, that's right. They were.
Yeah. So glad it's still living on somewhere. But I think here, right, I think GameStop bought it and then just changed them all into GameStops, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah,
They
that's
bought
what I
everything.
thought.
They bought everything.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to work at EB Games for a couple months.
Oh, nice. My cousin worked at KB Toys for I think like a school year or something, but yeah, so from there some other games that I had Simpsons Hit and Run, which is a Grand Theft Auto sort of clone, but with the Simpsons characters, because I was a huge Simpsons fan. I still am. I still love those early seasons. Pikmin, the first Pikmin game came out, and that was pretty fun. That's also been referred as the baby's first real-time strategy game.
That's another series I've never played.
Yeah, I played
never touched it.
I played the first one like a lot. I was never super like into it, but I liked the environment. I liked the characters. I liked the music of that game as well. I'm not huge on the gameplay because I hate watching those little Pikmin die. It just gives me like a lot of anxiety, and I don't want that to happen. But yeah, that was pretty much it for the GameCube. A couple other like solid things that I played was Melee, or as I called it back in the day, and everybody else in Naugatuck called it Melee because the announcer calls it Melee. Take a listen to the announcer because he actually says Melee and not Melee, so that's why everybody called it Melee back in the day. At least where I grew up.
Something lost.
Did you have a purple GameCube, Jimmy?
Yes, I do.
Now, did you have the one that had the component cable hookup?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's really helpful nowadays because I have the adapter that does HDMI.
We were just talking about that last night.
Yeah, we were. But yeah, it's really nice. I love that little system. It's probably one of my favorite systems I've ever had. It's such a great
not to cut you off, I was just going to say it's got such a great little intro when you boot up the system too.
It's so good. The one thing that I don't like about the adapter in it outputting the HDMI is it doesn't immediately get to your TV, so you only have like half of the logo start up, and like it irks me every time.
That's crushing.
Sometimes I'll restart it just so I can see the beginning. It's like, childhood.
With the GameCube, like I bought my GameCube out of protest because
really,
So I know this is your interview, but just a segue into a brief story here. I had bought an Xbox after I had gotten out of this relationship, right? And it was a pretty turbulent time for me. Yeah. So like I bought an Xbox out of protest, and one of the first games I bought for the Xbox was WrestleMania 21. And I fucking loved wrestling games, so I was so excited to get this wrestling game. And it was such a hot pile of trash that I immediately bought a GameCube and picked up a copy of Day of Reckoning out of protest.
That's funny.
Wow.
And Day of Reckoning was fucking great.
That's really
very
good.
Matching for that turbulent time of yours.
You have no idea. But anyway, it all worked out in the end. But I'm sorry. Now back to Jim.
Fine. The GameCube was a great little system. I had the Game Boy player for it, and I had the portable screen. Your last guest was talking about having a portable screen with it as well. And it was really nice to have on like long road trips and stuff. We used to go up to Lake Ontario every year, so that was nice to have.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's a 6-hour drive.
Do you still have the Game Boy player?
Yep, I do. I had to rebuy the disc though because I have no idea where the original went, and the disc is what's super expensive about it. It's like $60 just for a disc to play Game Boy games on it. It's really annoying.
I got lucky. I was able to grab one before the prices like really skyrocketed.
Yeah, it's nice to have though. It's a good way to capture Game Boy footage, unless you're using an emulator.
Right.
I remember Jimmy having to order the official Nintendo component cables off like the official Nintendo store.
Wow.
And they were so expensive.
Yeah.
And it was like the only place you could get them.
Yeah, I remember people talking about that when people were trying to like play these in like HD TVs and stuff. Because it came out like a little bit before like the cusp of HD TVs. I remember it coming out. Like HD TV started getting big they sort of came out like mid-aughts, like 2005, 2006. And that's when people were still playing the GameCube, so it's nice to not have just regular red, white, and yellow.
Yeah.
But I lucked out that I have the adapter, and it's a great adapter too. I love playing my GameCube on HD TVs now.
Yeah, Drew and I know best for sure that some of those third-party adapters are trash, and some are really good.
Yeah, the bad thing is you have to pay a pretty penny for them, but
it's worth it though. If you're serious about it, it's worth it.
And like I've definitely become more of a retro gaming collector as I've gotten older too. So like it's nice to have that, like just for preservation wise. I'm gonna be able to play this on TVs for the next 20 years.
Have you gotten into modding the systems yet?
No, it's one thing that I would like to get into a little bit, but I wouldn't do them with my consoles. I'd probably buy like a spare copy, just because I'm very sentimental about like the systems that I have every single system that I grew up with. Like I have my N64 that I grew up with. I have the GameCube. I actually sold my GameCube to a friend of mine and then bought it back because I felt bad. I was like, oh man, I wish I didn't sell that. I actually sold it to him, and then he bought me an original NES. And then I was like, yeah, it was a pretty good deal at the time. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to need that back. So I paid him, I think, how much he paid for me. But
yeah, I'm going to need that back.
Yeah. I'm happy to have that. But yeah, if I was to get into modding, I'd probably buy another one. It is something I've thought about, and maybe at some point. But on the other hand, like I'm happy with how my games are performing now. So.
Yeah, and it can get really expensive. Like it's a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Like, I have a couple spare systems that I've acquired from friends, just like giving stuff away, And I haven't even, like, most of them I haven't even plugged in to see if they're functioning. But that would be a good place to start, I think, for like modding. But then I look at the prices of the mods and I think about how often I'm actually playing these games.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
It's a lot easier for me to just go over to my Xbox, which is already hooked up to my TV, and just turn that on rather than breaking out the the modded N64 or whatever and hooking it up. Maybe it would be different. Maybe I would actually take the time to leave it hooked up, but so far I haven't. So
yeah, my dream setup is to have an actual like gaming room, sort of like what you have too, and just like having all the systems just plugged in at once. I only have to hit like a switcher or whatever. That's the ideal setup, but maybe
I had
someday.
that for I had that for a while. In my last apartment, I had a CRT that was hooked up, and I had a component switcher that also did S-video. And the CRT, it's a widescreen one. It does up to 1080i, so I was able to get HD picture. But it was like that in between LCDs and CRTs, right?
Yeah.
And I had everything hooked up, and just the amount of wires that I was using to get everything from the systems to the TV, the quality degradation was atrocious.
Yeah.
And then I started getting into like trying to figure out how to record gameplay, and I needed splitters, and it just ended up becoming like this Cthulhu of wires. It was a nightmare. So like I'm still like trying to find out like the best way to achieve having the systems accessible. They don't need to be connected at all times, but I need to make it so that it's something that's like, hey, I want to play this thing.
Right.
What's
Just
the quickest way for me to get there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm still working that out. So if you come up with a strategy, let me know.
Yeah, I'm sort of trying to figure that out too. Just like, just out of ease, I'd like to be able to set it up so I could record gameplay whenever. Just hit a button and I could record gameplay and then get to it whenever I want. That's sort of the ideal setup that I'm looking at now, but that's probably not going to be until I get some sort of stimulus check, hopefully. It'll probably be a while to get like one of those nice recorders and stuff, but
Yeah.
I remember the S-video days.
Yeah, back in the day.
Quality is pretty good, but it's just a shame it doesn't carry audio too.
Yeah, that's very true.
I think I have an S-video wire for the GameCube. Now you mention it.
That's a good idea.
I think, they definitely did have one. I remember having a bunch of Monster brand, like, gaming cables. They had, like, a whole suite of, like, gaming cables that they were making for nearly every system. And I bought all of them, and, like, $1,000 later or whatever, I had, like, an S-video for the GameCube and all this jazz.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have the next brand underneath Monster. I don't know what the name of it is, but it's not Monster. It's like, I don't fucking know. It has like a hurricane for the logo. It's something stupid.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah. Anyway, go on, Jimmy. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. That was pretty much my GameCube days. I had Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door too. We already talked about that a little bit, but yeah, also a very good game. My grandmother bought that for me one year, and really appreciate that. That was a great game.
Very nice.